Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's meant to. Well, first of all, I'd imagine that it's meant the purpose behind it is to try and build up some resilience, but it's also meant to be actually doing training techniques. It's meant to be training certain techniques for if you are engaged. I don't want to be too specific because in Australia this is still a very classified sort of course, and I don't want to go into too much depth about specifically what we're being trained in. But basically, if we see a particular technique used by the interrogators or whatever, we're trained to respond in a certain way. And so basically the purpose of going through these in-depth scenarios and situational training is so that you're basically given a live experience of certain situations where these sort of techniques might be used by a foreign, enemy force, and you have to respond in the way that you were trained.
And I guess my question to you would be, not to sound callous, but would you want to encourage more? How drastic of a reform are we talking about? Because I've always seen programs like for the United States military, like Sears, for example, to be a necessary evil, if you will, where it's not a pleasant thing to do, but we do have to have some soldiers qualifiedness to be able to teach these things, or for people who are prepared. Because what would be worse is if an enemy combatant gets a hold of you, and next thing you know, you're going through intense pain, interrogation, and torture, and you don't know how to respond, and because of that, now your platoon is dead because you gave away your location. What would you in particular want to reform in regards to it, and how far or how much do you want to do?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and I 100% agree that we need to have courses like this. Absolutely, like there are some soldiers out there who have gone through this course that just want it completely gone. They think that there is that the course is just so bad as it is at the moment that it should just be eliminated. That is absolutely not my position. My position is that there is a genuine capability that's needed by courses like this, and you described that capability very, very succinctly with basically saying, well, we need to be taught how to resist certain interrogation techniques. But my reforms are basically to try to get rid of the most harmful aspects of this course that actually don't contribute to good training but seem just to create injury. So there are three main reforms that I want made to the course itself, and then there are three other policies that our organization is trying to make to help those who've already gone through this course. So the first policy is to stop all the interrogation exploitation techniques on the course that could cause trauma or moral injury. Now there's plenty of studies, especially in Australia, that go into the effects of moral injury, and I know that in America moral injury is a very deep concern for quite a lot of psychologists, because there's quite a lot of people who have been made redundant or have had to medically discharge from United States service because of moral injury. They felt like they were forced to do things that were completely against their conscience or what they believed. And there are certain techniques being used on this course that do cause trauma or moral injury, and I'm sure we can get into specifically what those are. The second one is that the monitoring psychologists on the Conduct After Capture Level C course be chosen by the Australian Psychological Society, and that these psychologists should be able to withdraw participants anonymously. So one of the main sort of problems that was actually raised by people who were interested in my program. So I should probably say there have been other whistleblowers of this course before me, and one of these was a guy called Dr. Stephen Scully, who was actually a medical support officer for this training. And when he was seeing what was going on, he was actually shocked, and he felt that some of the most disgusting sort of elements of this course were things that he couldn't really do. He couldn't really do much about mainly because he was still he still had to answer to the military hierarchy, and you have to be pretty brave to go against a superior officer in the army. It's definitely not something that you do, and obviously there can be some pretty severe punishments for questioning the orders of a superior officer. You could be charged with insubordination. They may put a pause or freeze on your career progress. And also, it's very much against the ethos of the military to question the hierarchy. You're basically, if you're given an order, you kind of just do it sort of mentality. And maybe there's something to be said about whether that's actually a good mentality to have or not. I think to a certain extent that's definitely a good mentality. But this Dr. Stephen Scully basically said that support staff are unlikely to intervene in the course because they're still subject to the military hierarchy. And we actually had a royal commission into defence and veteran suicide here in Australia that found that one of the person who was representing defence found that no one, not during his entire time running this course, has anyone intervened because of any of the tactics or techniques that were being done. Any of the techniques being done during this course. So the purpose of this particular policy is to try to bring a bit more accountability to, or try to give a bit more freedom to support staff to actually be able to intervene if they think things are going too far. Because it seems that when we're talking about sexual violence being used on this course and literal torture, or and I don't use the word torture lightly. These are techniques that have been been deemed by the United Kingdom Supreme Court, by the United Nations, by the European Union, by the government of Ireland. These are techniques that very major that very, very high ranking authorities are basically saying that these techniques are torture. So that's the main reason for why we think that there needs to be a bit more independence and freedom when it comes to support staff, when it comes to actually monitoring this course. And then the third one is just limiting sleep deprivation on the course to 48 hours. And this is just so that our course is in line with what's being done in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom do not do sleep deprivation past 48 hours. And from what I read, the United States sort of SERA training does also limit the sleep deprivation. We do not limit the sleep deprivation on our course, and I think that that's extremely detrimental. So those are the three sort of reforms that I want done to the conduct after capture training. And then the only three other policies which are trying to help veterans is that mental health claims submitted to the Department of Veteran Affairs for anyone who is participating on this course should just be de facto accepted. Obviously, if this course is causing trauma or moral injury, and this is causing mental health claims, that these mental health claims should just be de facto accepted if someone's gone on this course. There are plenty of instances where people have submitted mental health claims to DVA after going on this course, and they've been rejected. Because the DVA doesn't think that you can actually get traumatized by this course, and that's completely ridiculous. The second one is that the specific torture techniques that are being done on this course should be made illegal and nationally recognized as a form of torture. I think that this will help a lot of soldiers realize that what was actually done to them was wrong. That there is a bit of reconciliation there for a lot of soldiers. They can actually grasp and understand that what happened to them was wrong, and so they can actually feel a little bit at ease at the uncertainty of, was what happened to me right or wrong, I'm not sure. And then the third one is just that the government make an official apology about how it's treated soldiers during this course. So those are the six sort of reforms that I'm seeing to make. 3 are actually to the course, 3 are just to help soldiers who have done the course.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is exceptionally fair, considering that while in America we have our survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, and I do understand the necessary evil that is a byproduct of getting people prepared to be in circumstances where they'll be tortured to confess and comply and forfeit vital information that would put their other allies in danger for the most part. One of the particular things I thought was interesting is with torture, fundamentally speaking, in some regards, regardless of the level of training to the person or the individual in question, most of this, to some regard, is to not break the person just physically, because physical endurance is just a part of the curriculum when it comes to military operations. What is vital for torture to be effective is to mentally break the person, to put them in a sort of permanent mental anguish where, rather than dealing with anything coming forward, the forfeit of information is more advantageous. It comes to my attention, like people such as David J. Morris, who discussed at length about waterboarding, where he talked about being stripped naked, how he had gotten hypothermia how he had to deal with the cold environment, and not just the mental fortitude that it would take, but the time frame in which it happened and especially how elongated that would probably create a